The Zephyrian's fist came down like a plasma hammer, aiming for the small human girl's face. Empress Lyra watched from her observation deck as the alien bully, twice the girl's size with chitinous armor plating, prepared to shatter bones. The girl's hand shot up, fingers wrapped around the descending fist. The impact echoed across the detention center's courtyard like a gunshot. The Zephyrian's arm stopped dead, completely. His yellow eyes bulged as he strained against the grip, veins pulsing beneath his exoskeleton. The girl hadn't even shifted her stance. "Impossible," breathed Commander Vex, Lyra's head of security. "That Zephyrian weighs 300 pounds. His species can crush titanium." Lyra leaned forward, her pulse quickening. The girl couldn't be more than 16, thin as a reed, wearing the standard gray uniform of a diplomatic refugee. She'd been rescued from a transport crash 3 days ago, the sole survivor of a destroyed colony ship. Earth's last daughter, they'd called her. The Zephyrian snarled, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "Release me, meat!" The girl tilted her head. "No," she squeezed. The sound of cracking chitin filled the air. The bully's roar turned into a whimper as his knees buckled. Other prisoners, representatives from dozens of species, backed away in stunned silence. "Sir," Vex whispered, "our sensors show the Zephyrian is exerting over 2,000 pounds of force. She's stopping it with her bare hand." Lyra's mind raced. Humanity was supposedly extinct. Their homeworld had been glassed by the Dominion 3 years ago. This girl was believed to be the last of her kind. Fragile, traumatized, requiring protection. The physicals had shown normal human parameters, weak by galactic standards. The girl spoke again, her voice carrying across the courtyard with unnatural clarity. "You hurt Pip yesterday, the Scalene child who couldn't defend himself." The Zephyrian's face twisted in pain and confusion. He's just a prey species. They all are." The girl's grip tightened. More cracks appeared in the bully's exoskeleton. "Compared to us." A chill ran down Lyra's spine. Something in the way the girl said "us," as if humanity wasn't gone, as if they were still out there, watching, waiting. The observation deck's doors slid open. Captain Torres, the facility's warden, rushed in. "Your Majesty, we need to intervene before—" "No." Lyra's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Let it play out." In the courtyard, the girl continued her lesson. "My people have a saying. Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. But when someone hurts children—" She paused, studying the Zephyrian's terrified face. "We become very competent at violence." The bully tried to pull away, his free hand clawing at her fingers. Damn. She didn't budge. If anything, she seemed rooted to the ground like a mountain. "Please," he gasped. "I won't. I'll leave the small ones alone." "Yes," the girl agreed softly. "You will." She released him. The Zephyrian stumbled backward, cradling his mangled hand. His exoskeleton had stress fractures running up his entire arm. He looked at the girl with dawning horror, then turned and fled. The courtyard remained silent. Then, slowly, the smaller species, the Scalenes, the Vorthan younglings, the refugee children from a dozen worlds, stepped closer to the human girl. Not afraid, seeking protection. Lyra's blood ran cold as understanding struck her. This girl wasn't the last human. She was a shepherd, a guardian, and if one teenage girl could crush a Zephyrian warrior with casual ease, what did that say about the rest of surviving humanity? "Your Majesty." Vex's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Orders?" Lyra watched the girl kneel beside the small Scalene called Pip, checking for injuries with gentle hands, the same hands that had just demolished living armor. The child's savior was humming softly, a lullaby that somehow managed to sound both comforting and ominous. "Double the security protocols," Lyra whispered, "and send a message to the Galactic Council. Burgency priority." What should the message say? Lyra couldn't tear her eyes away from the scene below. The girl had noticed their observation deck, her gaze lifting to meet the Empress's through the reinforced transparasteel. She smiled and waved, a perfectly normal, friendly gesture, except her eyes held the cold depth of space itself. "Tell them," Lyra said, her voice barely audible, "that humanity isn't extinct. Tell them. We've been keeping their children." She paused as the full implications crashed over her. "And tell them we may have made a terrible mistake. The message that went out that day would reshape galactic politics forever." But in the moment, all Lyra could think about was the girl's casual display of impossible strength and the growing certainty that somewhere in the darkness between stars, humanity was watching their every move. The observation deck fell silent except for the soft humming that somehow reached them through soundproof walls, a lullaby that sounded disturbingly like a funeral dirge for anyone foolish enough to threaten Earth's children. Within hours, emergency sessions convened across 3 sectors. The girls' demonstration had been recorded, analyzed, and distributed to every major power in the galaxy. The readings were impossible to fake. A human child had stopped a Zephyrian assault with strength that defied physics. Lyra paced her private chambers while her advisors argued in hushed voices. The implications cascaded through every strategic calculation the Empire had made since the supposed fall of Earth. If humans possessed such physical capabilities, why had they appeared so vulnerable during first contact? Why had their military seemed so primitive? "It was theater," Admiral Kresh concluded, his scales darkening with stress. "They wanted us to underestimate them." "But why?" demanded Minister Yali. "What possible advantage?" "To see who we really were," Lyra interrupted, the pieces falling into place. "They let themselves appear weak to test our character." The weight of that realization settled over the room. Humanity had watched while the Dominion destroyed their colony ships, had documented every species that celebrated their supposed extinction, had catalogued every government that seized their territories. Commander Vex burst through the doors without announcement, a breach of protocol that spoke to the urgency. "Your Majesty, long-range sensors are detecting something." The holographic display materialized above the conference table. At first, Lyra saw nothing but empty space. Then Vex adjusted the filters and she gasped. Ships. Thousands of them. Arranged in perfect formation just beyond the system's edge. Sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around themselves, nearly invisible until you knew exactly where to look. The fleet hung motionless in the void like a held breath. "How long have they been there?" Lyra whispered. "Unknown. Our best estimate is always." The communication array chimed with an incoming transmission. No identification signal, no request for permission. The message simply began playing on every screen in the palace simultaneously. A man appeared, clearly human, wearing a simple black uniform. His face was unremarkable except for his eyes, which held the same unsettling depth Lyra had seen in the girl. Behind him stretched a command bridge that hummed with technology decades ahead of anything the galaxy possessed. "Citizens of the Drakmir Empire," he began, his voice carrying an authority that made even Lyra straighten unconsciously. "I am Admiral Chen of the Human Recovery Fleet. 3 years ago you witnessed what you believed was our extinction. Today, you discovered that our children are stronger than your warriors." He paused, letting that sink in. "We have been watching. We have been learning. We have cataloged every kindness and every cruelty shown to our people during their supposed vulnerability. Your empire has protected our young ones, fed our refugees, treated our injured with honor." Lyra felt a flutter of hope until his expression hardened. "You have also harbored those who celebrated our deaths, profited from our territories, and enslaved our captured civilians. The Zephyrian Detention Center houses war criminals alongside victims. This ends now." The display shifted to show the girl from the courtyard, now standing in what appeared to be the same command bridge. She looked younger, surrounded by adult humans, but no less dangerous. "My daughter Sarah sends her appreciation for your staff's kindness," Admiral Chen continued. "Dr. Hayes treated her nightmares, and Warden Torres ensured she had proper nutrition. Guard Captain Morrison read her bedtime stories in Standard." His smile held no warmth. "They will be remembered favorably when the accounting is complete." The transmission cut to tactical displays showing Dominion fleets across 3 sectors. Each one was surrounded by previously invisible human vessels. The Dominion believed they glassed our homeworld. They destroyed empty cities and called it victory while our civilization relocated to spaces between spaces. Today, they learn the difference between theater and reality. The displays erupted in silent explosions of light as Dominion ships simply ceased to exist. No debris fields, no escape pods. One moment they were there, the next they were gone, as if they had never existed at all. The galaxy stands at a crossroads, Admiral Chen resumed. Species that showed mercy to humanity's children will find us generous allies. Those that showed cruelty will find us thorough enemies. Those that remain neutral will be ignored until they choose otherwise. His gaze seemed to pierce through the screen directly into Lyra's soul. Empress Lyra Valdris, your protection of our young ones has been noted. You will receive formal terms for our alliance within 6 hours. I suggest you accept them. The image flickered and changed to show the girl, Sarah, once more in the detention center. She was teaching other children to play a human game involving string patterns, her previous display of strength seemingly forgotten. But every adult prisoner gave her a wide berth. Sarah reminds me that children should feel safe. Admiral Chen's voice continued over the scene. Your facility has provided that safety for many species. It will continue to do so under joint human-Drakmir administration. The transmission ended, leaving Lyra's chamber in stunned silence. Outside the palace windows, the first human ships were already emerging from whatever dimension they'd used to hide themselves, sleek forms materializing like predators stepping from shadows. Lyra turned to her advisors, seeing her own shock reflected in their faces. In the span of one afternoon, the galaxy's power structure had completely inverted. Your orders, Your Majesty? Vex asked quietly. Lyra thought of the girl's gentle hands treating an injured child, then remembered those same hands crushing living armor. She thought of an entire species staging their own extinction to test the moral character of every government in known space. Prepare the acceptance documents, she said finally, and send word to every refugee center in the Empire. Human children are to receive immediate citizenship and full protection. She paused, watching more human vessels decloak in perfect formation. It appears we're about to learn what humanity considers acceptable terms for galactic peace. The next 6 hours would determine whether the Drakmir Empire remained a sovereign power or became a cautionary tale about the dangers of underestimating Earth's children. The terms arrived exactly on schedule, delivered by Sarah herself. The girl materialized in the palace throne room through technology that bypassed every security system as if they didn't exist. She appeared alone, still wearing her refugee clothing, carrying a simple datapad. "Hello, Your Majesty," she said with a perfectly respectful bow. "My father sends his compliments and these documents for your consideration." Lyra accepted the pad with hands that trembled slightly. The girl's presence filled the vast throne room with a pressure that had nothing to do with physical size. Guards positioned throughout the chamber shifted nervously, though none drew weapons. "Please, sit while you review them," Sarah said, settling cross-legged on the marble floor as if holding court in a playground. "I know they're comprehensive." The terms were indeed comprehensive, and surprisingly reasonable. Joint administration of refugee facilities, technology sharing agreements heavily weighted in humanity's favor, mandatory courses on human culture and capabilities for all military personnel, complete amnesty for species that had aided human refugees. These are generous, Lyra admitted, looking up from the pad. Sarah's smile was genuine but carried undertones that made Lyra's advisors step further back. "My people don't believe in punishment for ignorance, only for malice." Her expression darkened slightly. "Though we're very good at identifying which is which, and the Dominion, learning that glass worlds can be rebuilt, but extinct species cannot be resurrected." Sarah examined her fingernails with the idle curiosity of a child. "Their government surrendered approximately 14 minutes ago, unconditionally." The speed of it staggered Lyra. The Dominion commanded the largest fleet in known space, had conquered hundreds of worlds, had terrorized entire sectors for decades. Humanity had dismantled them in less than a day. "You're wondering how," Sarah observed, reading Lyra's expression. "It's simple. Everything you think you know about physics is wrong. Humans didn't develop technology to overcome our physical limitations. We developed it to hide our physical capabilities. She gestured, and a holographic display appeared in midair showing comparative biometric data. Human baseline statistics scrolled past: strength, speed, reaction time, cognitive processing, all far beyond what first contact protocols had indicated. When we found the galaxy, we discovered civilizations that had never faced serious predators, never been forced to truly fight for survival. You'd achieved space travel, but you'd never needed to become warriors. Sarah's voice carried neither pride nor contempt, just observation. We realized we had a choice: conquer everything immediately, or hide our strength until we understood who deserved protection and who deserved conquest. Lyra felt pieces of a vast puzzle clicking into place. The destroyed colony ships, automated drones designed to look inhabited. We needed to see how different species would react to human refugees, our actual civilians. Mostly our children. Would you protect them? Enslave them? Study them? Ignore them? The test had been comprehensive and perfectly executed. For 3 years, humanity had cataloged the moral character of every major civilization while appearing utterly vulnerable. Your empire passed, Sarah continued. You fed hungry human children, provided medical care without condition, protected them from abuse, guarded Captain Morris, and even learned human lullabies to help refugee younglings sleep. Her smile brightened. That was especially noted. Commander Vex stepped forward carefully. The strength display in the detention center, was that planned? No. Sarah's expression turned serious. That was personal. Nobody hurts children in my presence, ever. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. The Zephyrian was lucky I was feeling restrained. Lyra studied the girl who looked so normal, so human in the most innocuous sense. What are you really? We're what happens when a species spends 1,000,000 years as both predator and prey, when evolution demands strength, intelligence, and adaptability in equal measure. Sarah stood gracefully. We're what humans become when the universe tries to kill us and fails. The datapad chimed softly. Text appeared, indicating acceptance was required within the next 4 minutes. Choose quickly, Sarah advised. Other species are making their own decisions. The hegemony rejected our terms 12 minutes ago. She tilted her head as if listening to something only she could hear. They've just discovered that their homeworld no longer exists. Lyra didn't hesitate. She pressed her thumb to the acceptance seal, binding the Empire to humanity's terms. Better to be junior partner to gods than enemy to demons. Excellent choice, Sarah said, her demeanor brightening instantly. You'll find us much easier to work with than against. She produced a small device from her pocket. This will connect you directly to our diplomatic corps. They'll help implement the transition. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Your Majesty? Thank you for protecting our children when you thought we were gone. That meant more to us than you'll ever know. Sarah touched something at her wrist and simply ceased to exist, vanishing between one heartbeat and the next. Lyra slumped in her throne, emotionally exhausted. In the space of hours, humanity had revealed themselves as the galaxy's apex predators, while somehow managing to appear reasonable, even kind. The device Sarah had given her activated, projecting a calm voice. Empress Valdris, this is Diplomatic Coordinator Williams. Shall we begin transition planning? I think you'll be pleased with the infrastructure improvements we're prepared to offer. Outside the palace windows, human ships hung in space like sleeping giants, beautiful, alien, and utterly beyond anything the galaxy had imagined possible. The age of human supremacy had begun not with conquest, but with revelation. And somewhere in the detention center, a teenage girl was probably still teaching alien children how to play with string, her gentle hands having reshaped galactic civilization without breaking so much as a fingernail. Within hours of the Empire's acceptance, the transformation began. Human engineering teams materialized throughout Drakmer space, their technology integration proceeding with impossible efficiency. Power grids upgraded themselves, medical facilities expanded beyond recognition, and communication arrays suddenly reached previously unreachable sectors. Sarah returned to the detention center as if nothing had changed, though now she was accompanied by a small team of human specialists. They moved through the facility with quiet competence, documenting conditions and interviewing refugees with methodical precision. Lyra watched from her observation deck as Sarah knelt beside a group of Vorthan younglings, their crystalline skin reflecting local starlight through the facility's new enhanced windows. The children's fear had transformed into something closer to worship, not of Sarah specifically, but of what she represented. The psychological profiles are fascinating, Dr. A. Reeves, the lead human specialist, explained to Warden Torres. Most species develop fight-or-flight responses. Humans developed fight and flight and think and adapt and remember. We're essentially living weapons that chose to become gardeners. Torres nodded nervously. The man had run detention facilities for 20 years, but the presence of actual humans made him question everything he thought he knew about managing populations. The children respond to Sarah so positively, he observed, because they recognize protection when they see it, Dr. Reeves replied. Humans are hardwired to defend the young of any species. It's why we found you acceptable despite some of your empire's questionable policies. In the courtyard, Sarah was demonstrating what she called basic defensive techniques to a mixed group of young refugees. Lyra watched in amazement as the girl casually lifted a half-ton piece of exercise equipment with one hand while explaining leverage principles. Strength matters, Sarah told her audience, but intelligence matters more. Watch. She set down the weight and approached the facility's security door, a barrier designed to withstand heavy weapons fire. Instead of force, she simply touched the access panel. The door opened instantly. Every system can be understood, she continued. Every problem can be solved. That's what makes humans dangerous. We don't just break things. We understand them first. The demonstration was clearly intended for more than just the children. Security cameras throughout the facility transmitted Sarah's lesson to every military installation in the Empire. The message was unmistakable. Human capabilities extended far beyond raw physical power. Later that evening, Lyra received an invitation that was both thrilling and terrifying. Dinner aboard the human flagship. The message came from Admiral Chen personally, delivered through Sarah's communication device with coordinates for transport. The human shuttle that collected her was unlike anything in the Imperial fleet. It moved through space without visible propulsion. Transitions between normal and faster-than-light travel were completely seamless, and the interior seemed larger than the exterior hull should have allowed. Dimensional compression, Sarah explained, noting Lyra's confusion. She was Lyra's guide, having changed from refugee clothing into what appeared to be a naval uniform. We learned to bend space before we learned to build proper starships. The flagship defied description. It stretched for kilometers but felt organic rather than constructed, all flowing lines and surfaces that seemed to shift when viewed peripherally. The crew moved with purpose, but without haste, their efficiency suggesting capabilities far beyond anything Lyra's military could conceptualize. Admiral Chen greeted them in what he called his ready room, a space that somehow felt both intimate and vast. He was younger than Lyra had expected, perhaps 50 standard years, with the same unsettling depth in his eyes that marked all humans she'd encountered. Your Majesty, he said, offering genuine respect. Welcome to the Endurance. I trust the transition is proceeding smoothly? Almost effortlessly, Lyra admitted. Your people are remarkably efficient. We've had 3 years to plan. Chen gestured to chairs that materialized from the floor. Please sit. We have much to discuss. The meal that followed was both elegant and surreal. Human cuisine adapted for bilateral physiology, served by technology that anticipated needs before they arose. Sarah contributed to the conversation with insights that reminded Lyra this child possessed knowledge and experience beyond her apparent years. You're wondering about our true numbers, Chen observed during the main course. The answer is approximately 12 billion, distributed across installations invisible to conventional sensors. The scale staggered Lyra. Humanity hadn't just survived their supposed extinction, they'd thrived in hiding while carefully observing galactic civilization. Where? She asked. Sarah answered with enthusiasm that seemed entirely natural. Everywhere! Asteroid belts, gas giant atmospheres, parallel dimensions, quantum foam bubbles. Dad, can I show her the gardens? Chen's smile was indulgent. Perhaps later. We should focus on policy matters. The gardens? Lyra asked. We terraformed several thousand barren worlds using accelerated evolution techniques, Sarah explained. Turned them into preserves for endangered species we've rescued over the decades. Want to see a Terran tiger? We saved them from extinction 400 years ago. The casual mention of terraforming technology and temporal genetics programs made Lyra's head spin. Each revelation expanded the scope of human capabilities beyond anything she'd imagined possible. Which brings us to the real purpose of tonight's dinner, Chen said, his tone becoming more formal. The galaxy faces a choice, Your Majesty. Humanity can remain hidden, managing civilization from the shadows, or we can reveal ourselves fully and work openly toward mutual prosperity. What does that mean practically? It means species that prove trustworthy receive access to human technology, protection from aggressor civilizations, and partnership in exploring regions beyond current galactic boundaries. Chen leaned forward. It means the Drakmir Empire could become humanity's first open ally rather than merely a client state. The offer was staggering. Partnership instead of subjugation. Access technology that could advance the Empire by millennia overnight. What would you require in return? Sarah answered with the directness of youth. Stop treating refugees like problems to be managed. Start treating them like people to be protected. Your species has good instincts. Trust them more. Chen nodded approvingly. Additionally, we need access to your diplomatic networks, joint training programs for your military, and integration of human advisors into your government structure. Advisors, teachers, really, Sarah clarified. Humans who can help your people understand what the galaxy is becoming. The age of small, isolated civilizations is ending. What comes next will require cooperation on scales nobody's ever imagined. Through the ready room's transparent walls, Lyra could see other human vessels moving with choreographed precision. Each ship appeared unique yet somehow harmonious with the whole, as if the entire fleet was a single organism. How many species have you approached with this offer? She asked. Yours is the first, Chen replied. Your treatment of our children during the testing period demonstrated character traits we value. Compassion tempered with pragmatism, strength used for protection rather than exploitation, Sarah added quietly. Plus, you have really good hot chocolate in your palace kitchens. That counts for a lot. Despite everything, Lyra found herself laughing. The sound felt strange in the context of reshaping galactic civilization, but somehow appropriate. If humanity could maintain humor while wielding godlike power, perhaps partnership was indeed possible. I accept, she said simply. Chen's smile was genuinely warm. Then welcome to humanity's first alliance, Your Majesty. Sarah, would you like to show our new partner those gardens? Within minutes, Lyra found herself standing in a transport chamber as space folded around them. The destination was impossible, a pocket dimension containing worlds that shouldn't exist, teeming with life that painted the darkness in brilliant colors. This, Sarah said proudly, is what happens when humans choose to create instead of destroy. The sight took Lyra's breath away and confirmed her decision. The galaxy was indeed about to change, and for the first time in decades, she felt genuine hope about what that change might bring. The formal announcement came 3 days later, broadcast simultaneously across every communication network in the galaxy. Not just as data transmission, but as direct neural interface that reached every sentient being regardless of their species' technological level. Emperor Lyra stood beside Admiral Chen on the bridge of the Endurance, with Sarah positioned between them like a bridge between civilizations. Behind them, a holographic display showed the true scope of human civilization. Vast installations throughout the galaxy, ships beyond counting, technological capabilities that redefined what was possible. Citizens of the galaxy, Chen began, his presence somehow reaching across impossible distances to touch individual minds. 3 years ago, many of you witnessed what appeared to be humanity's extinction. Today, we reveal the truth of what we have become. The display shifted to show archived footage, Dominion fleets destroying empty colony ships, various species celebrating humanity's supposed demise, others mourning and offering aid. Each government found themselves watching their own responses played back with perfect clarity. We staged our death to learn who you truly were when you believed we could no longer threaten you. The results have been illuminating. Sarah stepped forward, her young voice carrying across the galaxy with surprising authority. Some of you protected our children, fed them, gave them homes and safety and hope. Her smile radiated warmth. Those species will find us grateful allies. Chen resumed control. Others celebrated our destruction, seized our territories, enslaved our survivors. His expression hardened. Those civilizations have already learned the consequences of their choices. The displays showed former Dominion space, now patrolled by human vessels, former government leaders in custody, refugee populations liberated and relocated to safer worlds. The transformation had occurred with surgical precision and overwhelming force. The galaxy stands reorganized, Lyra announced, her words carrying the authority of both her crown and her new alliance. Aggressive expansion ends today. Refugee populations receive immediate protection. Species that demonstrate peaceful intent will be contacted regarding peaceful integration into what we're calling the Galactic Protection Alliance. Sarah's enthusiasm bubbled through despite the formal setting. We have so much to share. Medical technology that can extend lifespans by centuries. Energy systems that make scarcity impossible. Transportation that makes every world accessible. We want to give you the stars. But first, Chen added firmly, you must prove you deserve them. The transmission ended with coordinates for contact protocols and a deadline. 30 standard days for each species to declare their intentions regarding the new galactic order. Reactions were immediate and varied. Some civilizations sent diplomatic delegations within hours. Others attempted to organize resistance coalitions, only to discover their communications intercepted and their fleets unable to leave their home systems. A few simply surrendered unconditionally, hoping for mercy. In the Drakmir Empire, the transition continued with remarkable smoothness. Human advisors worked alongside Imperial administrators, their suggestions invariably improving efficiency and morale. Technology upgrades proceeded at a pace that should have been impossible. Entire infrastructure systems rebuilt in days rather than decades. Sarah returned to the detention center daily, though it was rapidly transforming into something more like a cultural exchange facility. Refugee children from dozens of species learned alongside Imperial youngsters. Their curricula expanded to include human history, human science, and most importantly, human philosophy. The key insight, Sarah explained to a mixed class of students, is that strength without compassion leads to tyranny, while compassion without strength leads to victimization. Humans learn to balance both. She demonstrated by arm wrestling with a young Thraxian whose species possessed natural armor plating and enhanced bone density. The child struggled with obvious effort, while Sarah maintained her position effortlessly, chatting about mathematics theory without apparent strain. It's not about winning, she continued, gradually allowing her opponent to gain ground. It's about understanding when to use your advantages and when to restrain them. The Thraxian child finally succeeded in pushing Sarah's arm down, beaming with pride. The other students cheered, and Sarah congratulated her opponent with genuine enthusiasm. That's the real lesson, she told the class. Being strong enough to let others win when it matters. Later, as Lyra reviewed integration reports in her newly enhanced office, she reflected on the profound changes occurring throughout her empire. Crime rates had plummeted, not due to increased enforcement, but because basic needs were now universally met. Resource distribution had become so efficient that scarcity was becoming a historical concept. Most remarkably, productivity had increased despite working hours being reduced. Human efficiency models, her economic advisor explained. They've optimized systems we didn't even realize were inefficient. The most significant change, however, was psychological. Citizens who had lived with the constant background stress of potential conflict now moved with lighter steps. The presence of human protection made aggressive neighbors irrelevant and existential threats obsolete. Sarah appeared in Lyra's office through what was becoming her customary method, simply materializing without using doors or transport systems. She carried a datapad and wore an expression of barely contained excitement. We got responses from 47 species, she announced without preamble. 39 want to join the Alliance immediately. 6 are requesting more information, and only 2 declared hostile intent. Only 2? Lyra asked. The Consortium and the Hegemony Remnants. They're organizing something they're calling the Free Galaxy Coalition to resist human expansion. Sarah's grin contained no malice, Only anticipation. Dad says I can help with the response negotiations. Negotiations? We're gonna give them one more chance to surrender peacefully, Sarah explained. If they refuse, well, she shrugged with the casual indifference of youth. Some people have to learn lessons the hard way. Lyra studied the girl who had become the informal ambassador for humanity's most dangerous species. Despite everything she'd witnessed, Sarah remained recognizably a child, enthusiastic, curious, occasionally impulsive, yet behind her eyes lay depths that suggested capabilities beyond anything the galaxy had imagined. "What happens next?" Lyra asked. Sarah's expression grew thoughtful. "We build something new. A galaxy where children don't have to be afraid, where species work together instead of fighting over scraps, where everyone has enough and nobody has so much that they forget to share." She moved to the window, staring out at the Imperial fleet now integrated with human vessels. The sight should have been jarring. Alien technology merged with familiar designs, but somehow felt natural, even inevitable. "My people call it the Great Project," she continued. "Building a civilization worthy of the universe we've discovered. It's going to take generations, maybe centuries, but we have time." Lyra joined her at the window. "And if someone threatens it?" Sarah's reflection in the transparent steel smiled with innocent menace. "Then they'll learn why humans don't stay extinct when the universe tries to kill them." The final deadline arrived with appropriate ceremony. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in what had once been neutral space, now transformed into a vast diplomatic complex constructed by human engineering in less than 2 weeks. Sarah stood at the central podium, looking very young, surrounded by delegates from hundreds of species. Yet when she spoke, her voice carried the authority of humanity's collective will. 49 species have chosen alliance, she announced. They will receive immediate integration into the protection network, access to advancement protocols, and partnership in our expansion programs. She paused, allowing that to sink in. 2 species have chosen resistance. Admiral Chen materialized beside her, literally rewriting space to appear from nothing. The Consortium and Hegemony remnants will be provided one final opportunity for peaceful surrender. They have 6 hours to respond. The response came in 4 hours and 57 minutes. The Free Galaxy Coalition's answer was delivered via automated torpedo aimed directly at the diplomatic complex. Sarah caught the torpedo with her bare hands as it materialized from hyperspace. The explosive device, designed to level a small city, crumpled in her grip like paper. "Well," she said conversationally to the assembly of delegates, many of whom had thrown themselves to the floor in panic, "I guess they've made their choice." She crushed the torpedo completely, its exotic matter warhead dissipating harmlessly. "Dad, permission to demonstrate appropriate consequences?" Chen's smile was proud and terrifying. "Granted. Try not to make too much mess." Sarah touched her wrist communicator. "All ships, implement Protocol 7. Full spectrum demonstration authorized." Across the galaxy, the Free Galaxy Coalition's fleets simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, erased from reality, as if they had never been built. Their homeworlds found themselves surrounded by human vessels that had emerged from dimensions that didn't officially exist. The demonstration lasted exactly 30 seconds. When it ended, trillion-credit fleets had vanished and 2 of the galaxy's most militaristic civilizations found themselves completely defenseless. "Surrender accepted," Sarah announced cheerfully to her wrist communicator. "Standard integration protocols authorized. Try to be nice to them. They're learning." She turned back to the assembly of delegates, most of whom remained frozen in shock. "So," she continued brightly, "let's talk about the really exciting stuff. We have dimensional research projects, time dilation mining operations, and evidence of civilizations in nearby galactic clusters. Anyone interested in making some new friends?" Empress Lyra, watching from the diplomatic gallery, realized that humanity's revelation was only the beginning. They weren't just reshaping their own galaxy. They were preparing to expand into others. And somehow, despite wielding enough power to rewrite physics on demand, they remained focused on protection rather than conquest, on building rather than destroying. The age of human guardianship had officially begun. And as Sarah launched into an enthusiastic presentation about interdimensional exploration opportunities, Lyra found herself looking forward to whatever impossible wonders tomorrow might bring. The girl who had stopped a bully's punch with one hand had just caught an interstellar torpedo and casually erased hostile fleets from existence. Yet she still hummed lullabies to frighten children and got excited about sharing human chocolate with alien species. Perhaps that contradiction, overwhelming power wielded with childlike wonder, was what made humanity truly dangerous. Not their strength, but their refusal to let strength corrupt their essential nature. The galaxy was safe in very capable hands.